Alright, I'm Yoko, and this is just going to be a very quick guide to M4S. This is meant to be a week 1 guide, not meant to be some PF guide that you base strategies off of. I mean, you can if you want. But this is mostly just to help people get over the finish line for their week 1 clear. So yeah, let's get started. I'm not a professional guide maker at any means, so apologies if it's a little rough. First things first, we start off with a AoE that does quite a bit of damage, so make sure you shield it, mitigate it. It will kill you if you are not mitigated. And then afterwards, I'm going to do the very similar thing that it does in normal mode, where it creates wings and then it'll have little lasers off to the side, creating a basic grid of some sort. On screen is an example of like what it does look like from a top-down view, just to give you a better image. What I do for this is I simply just look to my left, look to my front, make sure I'm aligned in between the cubes, because these cubes shoot at a line. And then, of course, the boss herself also shoots a line. Afterwards, you can see the lines are on the ground. You can see the middle ones lighting up. So you can see this one, and this one, and this one. These are going to expand to be basically right around this entire area, which means the very edges, right here in the yellow, will be safe. And same for the other side, of course. Once you identify if it's in or out, you can look and see that new squares have spawned. And these squares will basically additionally overlap with the in or out. Basically making it so that you only have tiny little squares of safe spots. So you can see in the yellow are the safe spots. And there's also going to be another square that you can't see, it's off screen. But it's going to cut this in half too. And it's going to make 4 safe spots on each side, regardless of if it's in or out in the middle. And you're going to have a person go to these spots. So for example, you can have a ranged go here, a tank go here, a melee go here, and a healer go here. Kind of like quick march spots, or the same kind of spots that you did in Honey Be Lovely. And you're just going to mirror that on the other side, as you can see. Now, the reason why you were spread out, in case you did not catch it, is that during these spreads, you can see that all the DPS look at their status, and you can also physically look at the thing that's jumping on them. They just got hit by spreads. And these spreads give them Warp Lightning, and it gives them physical vuln. And this is very important for the next mechanic coming up. Alright, the reason that's important is because it's going to do Witch Hunt. Now, Witch Hunt is a mechanic that, depending on what the boss is doing, it will hit the closest 4 targets or the furthest 4 targets. And since we already saw that in this scenario, the DPS all got hit by the spreads earlier, that means it's time for the supports to go in and take the 4 closest targets so they get hit. You can identify if it's close or if it's far by looking at the boss. And if the boss is doing 4 diamonds in close proximity to each other, like what we see here, it's going to hit the 4 closest. So it's going to hit me. And they're still moving out. But if it's going to be a purple one, and it's going to look like what I'm drawing on screen right now. If it looks like 4 diamonds and they're expanded from each other, it's going to hit the 4 furthest targets. So depending on whether or not you need to get hit or avoid getting hit, you're going to be flexing close to the boss or far from the boss. Alright. Now, I'm just going to play that entire sequence really quickly in full. Bang, DPS get hit. It's a close, so that means supports are moving in and DPS are moving far. And then bang, bang. Next up is narrowing witch hunt or widening witch hunt. Alright, so this Casar, narrowing witch hunt, it can be either be narrowing or it can be widening. Narrowing means it's going to start with a donut, or an inn, or a dynamo, whichever vernacular that you are familiar with. Widening means that it's going to start with a out first, or a chariot, whatever you want to call it. And then, after each one, it's going to do the opposite. So if it starts with narrowing, like it does now, it's going to start with an in, and then it's going to do an out, and then it's going to do an in, and it's going to do an out. And it's going to do this 4 times. And each time, it's going to do a close bait or a far bait. And these close bait or far baits will only hit 2 people, and you have to cycle out 2 people each time. Now, you can just watch the sequence and kind of have a look at it. It's going to start with a close bait first, and a dynamo. So we're going to be in, and the tanks are going to be closest because they're our first baits. Next up will be healer, because that's our order, and they're going to be far baits. After that will be melee, who are close baits, and an in. So close baits, melee, in's going to be in. Far baits, ranged, and it's going to be an out. And you have to make sure to cycle each and every person. After this, it'll be a AoE. Same one as the start. It's going to hurt hard, so make sure everyone's stopped. And then we just wait for the next mechanic. Alright. Now, you just saw her shoot 3 beams at these little cubes. You can't see the ones on the bottom left and bottom right, but we have to take note of which one she's shooting. She's going to shoot 2 of these once, and 2 of these twice. Each time she shoots one of them, they like kind of grow in space, basically, and they take up 1 tile, and then they take up another set of tiles. So we have to take a look and make sure we account for which one has only been shot once, and never go to a quadrant that's been shot twice. So if we rewind a bit, we're gonna look. This is 1, 2, 1. So that's how we know that south will be unsafe, and north is going to be safe. After this, she's going to do, or during this, I should say, she's going to do a half-room cleave, a sidewise spark. And also, one big thing that you need to pay attention to is these little orbs that are circling her. Now, if there are 4 orbs like these, this means it's a pair mechanic. If there are a bunch of different orbs, tiny little orbs, a bunch of them, not just 4, there may be much more than 4, that means it's a spread. I'm going to put on screen a configuration that we use. So this is what my group does, and I'm just going to get rid of it really quick too, so you can see it. As you can see, I look towards her, I stack with my partner, and boom, 4 pairs go off, because that's what she was doing. Very simple mechanic. Afterwards, it's a tank buster. It's a double swap, so make sure the original tank who gets tank busted evokes it back. Because she does magic autos. You will die if you take an auto, and you still have magic bomb. Afterwards, every single person is going to get this little electrical condenser debuff. Now, one thing you have to pay attention to is the timers on the debuff. You can see that I have 20 seconds. But the next person has 40 seconds. There's going to be long, or there's going to be short. And you have to pay attention to that. And the reason, of course, you have to pay attention is that she will now shoot you. Now, you saw me get hit 3 times. I hit 1, 2, and 3. This is the same logic as she shot the cubes on the corners from earlier. Each time you get shot, you increase your tile. So for example, I'm in the middle tile right now. If I got shot once, I would only hit this middle tile. If I got shot twice, I would hit all these tiles in the middle. And if I got shot 3 times, which I did, I would hit the entire arena because that's 3 squares out. You can think of it as 1, 2, and 3. And once you know that logic, we're going to go and take a look. Alright. Big thing to note here is we see this pattern. You can't really see it very well on this, but this green square is safe. We use this and we look for this green square and we orient that as north. Now, since my debuff is short and I have 6 seconds left, I have 3, so I'm going to go and follow this chart. If you take a look, you can see that we have numbered everything in the tiles. We have 3s, 2s, and of course, the safe square, we are orienting north. We split it up with supports left, and DPS go right. So, support 1, which has 3, and the support that has 2, will go bottom left and left, respectively. DPS that has 3 and DPS that has 2 goes bottom right and right, respectively. So you can see me here in this entire sequence. I look for my new north, and I go bottom left because I'm support 3. And you can see, if I can get it, there we go. Boom! My 3 hit everything, but it left the 2 person alive. And you can see the group that is long up there, safe in this tile. Now, afterwards, it's going to be a half-room cleave, and then a spread or a pairs. In this case, it's a pairs, which is good, because I get to show you my diagram. But make sure to heal up, because these pairs do a lot of damage. Okay, so the more astute of you will notice that in this diagram, it says support 3, support 2, DPS 2, and DPS 3. But if you have a long debuff, you only ever get hit by 1 or 2 lines. But when you get hit by your pairs or spreads, this adds an extra charge to your cube. So if you only get hit by 1 line on your initial long debuff, that'll make you a 2. And if you got hit by 2 in your initial, that'll make you a 3. So you just kind of go according to this chart based on what you would end up as if you were +1. Everyone goes to the pairs. Pops. Orient to new north. And people go out. And that's the mechanic. It's going to do stacks. It's going to hit 5 times. It's not a huge deal. But just make sure you get enough mit. Don't overmit this, because the next few things will hurt like crazy. Next up is the cannon phase. You know this in normal mode. She's going to do the exact same thing. Go to the edge, get out her laser, and blast 3/4 of the arena. Do not take more than 2 of these hits. If you take 3 of these hits, you will probably die. They hurt really badly. They do about 60k damage per hit. So get to the safe spot. And then, please note, a while ago, you got these buffs. I am a blue buff, and you can take a look at them on the party list again. I'm blue, and you want to get hit by the opposite one. So that means I want to get hit by the yellow one. Biggest thing to know about these is 1, always make sure you go opposite. 2, this is a wild charge, which means tanks need to be in the front of these blasts, and the party needs to be behind. And bang. Now, here is where the fun part comes. It's Tsunami if you've ever done Leviathan. What we need to do is we need to take a look at our debuffs. I have a long distance cone. This means I'll hit the person who's furthest from me. You can see that my tank has a spread. That means he's just going to have a tiny little spread on him when it resolves. And 2 random people of each group will have these dark purple, kind of red circles. These need to be cleansed by getting hit with a cone. So, this is really a lot easier than it might seem. And I'm just going to demonstrate. I have a cone. And you can see the spreads are going right here, right here, right here, and right here. You can't really see me, but I'm going to circle myself in yellow. I am right here. And the other person with the cone is right here. And there are 2 people who I'm going to circle in green. And these people are the ones, as you can see, with the debuff that you need to get hit by. So my cone hits the furthest person, which means I will hit this person, and this person will hit the other person. Now, there's another way to do this, which I recommend, and that is DN's strat, which is completely static. Ours is also completely static, but it's just personal preference. I'll put them both up on screen. So, this is what it looks like in a diagram, because it kind of gives you a better idea of everything. This is our strat. You have the baits be out, spreads be slightly off to the side and in the middle, and your cones left and right. Very, very close to the center. Now, okay, one big thing to note is the actual location on the squares. This is very important. So, this is the edge of the tile, this is the edge of the tile. Rather than being on this edge, we like to center them right here on this kind of like black line, this gray line, because there are lines on the floor, and you should make use of these lines. So these lines are very useful. You have these baits stand here, and that way, no matter what, they will always stand here, regardless if it's close bait or far bait. So let's keep going and show it go off. Boom. Gonna do it again. As you can see, I am a person that needs to get hit by a cone. And you can also notice that the cones, I'm going to draw in a different color, the debuffs have changed a little. You can look at, these are close debuffs on my DPS. And on my support, they have donuts. So the donut one will look like this diagram. Since it's dynamo, we're going to have the dynamos sit on the yellow X's that I have on the screen. This way, it'll create a gigantic circle that'll encompass everyone. And the close baits, since they're conals, will sit right up close, just like they had before. It's static spots. They're going to fire across each other. They're going to hit the other conal person, and their cone will carry across and hit the person that needs to be cleansed. So, see it in action, since I'm the person that needs to be cleansed. Boom. Let's just watch the last one. It's a swap. It can be swap, 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 stay, 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 stay. It's random if you need to swap or not. But always make sure it's a wild charge. This is the other strat. This is DN's strat. This is their diagram that they use. It's very simple because spreads always go to the static spot, just like ours. Dynamos also go to the static spot, just like ours. But the only difference is that the cones are further away, and the person that needs to be shot by a cone is directly behind the conal people. So you can see that if it's a long cone, it'll fire across the arena and hit both the conal person and the person that needs to be cleansed. And if it's a short cone, it'll immediately attach to the person that needs to be cleansed. Either one works. Up next is the Tank Buster, and I promise you, even though this is probably at like 18 minutes or something, this is only halfway through the fight. But it gets easier from here. I promise. Maybe. It's going to do some RP text. And what you're going to do, you can see, is pair up with melee and ranged pairs. I'm with the melee. My tanks are with the ranged. Tanks with the ranged. Healer with the melee. Gonna do flamethrowers. Each cone, you're gonna move into the center of the next one. And you're just gonna move back and forth and back and forth. And boom, it just shot out 4 AoEs on people. 4 AoEs on supports. It's either role based, so it's going to be all supports, all DPS. What this does is that depending on if you're melee or not, you need to have somebody block it. So you see that I am arranged and I'm in the back. So my melee will already block a laser beam that's about to go off. But my tanks, since they're in the front, they need to head to the back and have their ranged take their place. Just for one hit. You'll see why in just a second. Boom. That's another wild charge, but with magic bomb. it's really straightforward. And it just repeats this twice. So this is the second set. Goes on DPS this time. We need to go up front. Take it for him. Dodge one more. And then it's going to do a lot of damage. But not as much as it could be. Make sure to have Mitt on this, because this does like 150k. And then it's going to do more damage. And, as you probably have noticed, we are all stacking up around the C marker, or the south. This is because we're about to get shot off into oblivion. Gonna do another big hit, break the platform, and shoot us off. The next part is gonna be a little bit of downtime. But more importantly, he's about to do a semi-long AoE cast that hits like a truck. It does 100k per hit at a 0.5 second interval. I highly suggest for week 1, you just tank LB it. You can see we have tank LB right now. We are getting trucked. It's much more sustainable. You can use every mitt in the world and live through that, but you quite literally have to use every mitt in the world. And then you'll have none for later on, and it just doesn't work out too well. Much better tank LB. So you probably saw on screen, oh my god, there's a bunch of exit flares. But fret not, it's really not that simple, or it's really not that hard. It's very simple. Separate into left-right parties, and then go to the very edge of the arena, and go in between these exit flares. Ignore that marker. You can go. There's 2 exit flares on top. 1, 2, and then there's going to be, and 4 is going to be down bottom. There's 4 exit flares in a line. Go in between 2 and 3. Do this for the same on the upside. Now, once you do that, take a look to the other side. You are looking for one thing and one thing only. Look at the other side. For example, since we're on the east side, I'm looking at these west set of exit flares. And I am looking for the one that goes off the arena. So you can see this third one from the bottom on the other side is going off the arena. I just want to go down the second this first X flare goes off, go down 1, and just sit there. This is because this X flare will go down like this X flare will go down like this, and this X flare will go down like this. It means there's only one safe column or row. Same thing on the other side. Other side, for example, we have this one going that way, this one going that way, but this one is going off the arena. So all they would do from their side is they would go north 1. Keep in mind, you can go north 2 or south 2. But yeah, just keep in mind, look for the exit flare that's escaping off the arena and you'll be good to go. These stacks don't really do much damage. More for keeping everyone there. Afterwards is going to be a wicked special. This is a go sides or go center. And it's going to cleave the columns. So if it's a big flaming sword, she's going to cleave the 2 middle columns, and that means you have to go to the sides. And if it's 2 laser beams off to the side, she's going to cleave the side columns, and you're going to have to go into the 2 middle columns. This one is, of course, go to the side. Boom. Alright, next up is Mustard Bomb. You might remember this from Omega. There are 2 Tank Buster tethers. Tanks just grab them and go like left or right of the boss up close. Everyone else, make sure they have a little bit of MIP, because there are going to be 4 random spreads on people, and 2 people will not be targeted. You can see them go off on my DPS. I did not get targeted. What happened just now is that the tank just took a tank buster, and they have a debuff on them that can be passed. The 2 people who are not targeted by AoEs need to go and pick up the debuffs off the tanks. And the tanks need to go move away from the people who just picked them up, because they're going to explode. It's really simple. And just make sure you know what you're doing. Okay, Ethereal conversion. You can do an ice tail or a hot tail. I'm going to talk about hot tail first, so ignore the fact that it's an ice. A hot tail will hit this entire side of the arena, and then it's going to hit the other side of the arena. It's kind of like the volcano in Valley Garmanda. So EX1, you just go from one side to the other. Try to use the north side because it's circular, so it has less like distance on the north. But for example, for what we have here, it's an ice, and ice is a knockback. So there's this little AoE right here on the tile. It's gonna knock me back all the way over to there. And then it's going to do the same thing on the other side because it has 2 tails, right? So I align myself with this AoE, this little red dot. I'm going to mark it on the... You can see this little red dot. It's kind of covered by salted earth, but it's very visible regardless. Line yourself up so you get hit the other side. And then she's going to do the knockback or the volcanoes. Realign yourself with this dot. Then get knocked back again. Up next is a big AoE, so make sure you have Summit. As long as you have like 20% on it plus shield, you should be fine. Azure Thunder 1 is it's going to summon 4 clones. 2 of them will spawn faster than the others. You can kind of see that these ones, this one and this one, are descending faster than the north and the east one. These clones are going to do sidewise sparks, so half room cleaves. It's very similar to normal mode, but first of all, it's going to be casting Wicked Fire, which is just a gigantic AoE on top of everyone. So it's going to drop an AoE, you're going to stand center, and then you're going to go to the correct side. So for example, in this case, we drop the AoEs, you can see them. And then this one is cleaving this side, so this side is bad. And I can see this one, it's kind of covered up my party list, but that's cleaving this side. So it's very simple. Just go northwest, northeast, southwest, or southeast. And dodge the things. You can see the next set of ads have spawned as well. And you can see her leaving this way. Ignore this one. Don't think about this one. Only think about this one. And this one will also be cleaving. During this, it's also going to be doing a Wicked Special. Make sure to be on the lookout. You can see it's going to do a sword, so you have to be on the sides. So right now, I'm safe. It could also do a middle. So the swords are middle for that. Afterwards is Midnight Sabbath 2. This is a partner or spread mechanic. You go to your quadrants that you've designated with your person, with your partner. and then you watch for the descending one. There's going to be 8 different clones descending, and 4 of them will descend faster, just like, before, and the others will descend slower. In this case, there's going to be guns, which are lines, or wings, which are donuts. And you also have to pay attention to scattered burst. So it's going to do scattered burst, which is a spreads first, or it's going to do a concentrated burst, which is a pairs first. Whichever one it does first, it'll do the opposite. So for example, in this one, it's scattered burst first, which means it'll be spread first, and then afterwards it'll be the pairs. So it's going to do, we can see guns are spawning first, and we can see the guns on the cardinals. Can't really see it much on the north or south, but it really doesn't matter. You only need to pay attention to the one in your quadrant. So I'm only caring about this one in this quadrant. So guns are going to fire off. It's going to hit this, and it's going to hit this, which means my little quadrant here in the green, this is safe for me. Now, since it's spread, I'm going to have one of my persons stand on the other side, and I'm going to stand here. And you can watch this happen in action. Boom, spread just went out, lasers went out. And you can tell by the fact that she doesn't have a gun, and she has wings, this is going to do a dynamo on these clones. And since it's a spread, it's going to be a pairs. I'm going to stack with my partner. Now it's going to do a wicked special. You can see the fact that she has these little things on the side, and she's going to cleave down this area. This is not going to be safe. Not going to be safe. Not too bad. Wicked Thunder. It's an AoE. Pretty simple. It's going to do another Ethereal conversion. It can be, once again, it can be ice, it can be fire. But you want to split up the light parties. And if you've ever done Leviathan, you know that these are like Leviathan platforms. It's going to break the middle. And then immediately after breaking the middle, it's going to spawn 8 towers, 4 on each side. I have an image up on the screen that basically is what we did. So we did tank, melee, healer, range from north to south, and we just mirrored it on both sides. Make sure you get one of each tower. If you don't, it's not the end of the world. Just don't miss 2. Next up is Chain Lightning. So, one big thing to note. There are four blades. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to get a better viewpoint. Yep. So you can see that when it tethered to our side, 2 seconds ago, if I can go back. Boom. That this third sword was not tethered. This means this is going to be the first safe spot. Each time, it's going to tether 8 times in total, 4 on each side. So you only have to pay attention to 4 of these. And you only have to pay attention to the ones on your side. Very simple. It's going to tether to one of these. So each one that it tethers to, it's going to do a big AoE around it. Boom, 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 boom. But, since it's not tethered to the third one, it's safe right here. And it's going to repeat that. So as you can see, it's going to be 3 safe first, 4 safe first, 4 safe second, 2 safe third, one safe last. Now, big thing to note, it cannot tether the same sword twice. Or rather, the same sword cannot be safe twice. And another thing to note is that in my chat box, I just type out which one is safe in what order. You can type it out to your party, you can type it out in your personal link shell. Doesn't matter as long as you were able to do it. Make sure to stand by the first safe spot before the cast is finished. Boom. As you can see, be very, very, very careful, because these safe spots are not friendly. You only have this tiny little safe spot on each side of the platform. And it's very, it's deceptive, so you don't want to get hit, because you probably will die. Not if you're a tank, but if you're anyone else. So we're just going to keep on going. 4. And then 2. And then 1. So just make sure you count that. And then it's going to do the tail thrust that it did before. So it saved the right thrust first, which means left is safe for fire. And of course, if it's ice, right thrust first, you want to go to the right to get knocked back to the left. As you can see, just move on past. Gonna repeat mustard bomb, exact same thing as before. It's gonna store another ethereal conversion. And then it's gonna do Azure Thunder 2. This was the tricky one. This is the hardest mechanic of the entire fight. Very end. But it's actually quite simple. It's just very finicky. First of all, take a look at your debuffs. You will notice that I have a long debuff. I have 30 seconds on mine, but some other people have 15 seconds on theirs. This is why we separate into longs and shorts. Basically, long debuffs will get towers first, short debuffs will get cannons first. You'll see exactly what I mean in a half a second. Boom. Okay, there's a lot of information to process just now, but big things are, take a look at the cannons on the intercardinals. And since you can't see it in this one is blue. I'm going to circle it with the color. This one is blue, and this one is blue. These can appear in any order, but there will always be 2 of each. And another thing to note are these clones on the edges. These clones can spawn north, south, or east and west. It doesn't matter where they spawn. It only matters where they're looking. So I'm going to go back half a second. You can see that this clone, for gaze, is looking directly opposite of the arena, towards the east side. And I'm going to take a quick look at the other side. This clone is looking directly west. Where they are looking determines where a tower will spawn. So you see me and my long partner go east and west, because you see towers spawn here. It's a 2 tower. And you also see these people shooting their proximity cannon. My tank is right here. And if you look, he has a blue. So he always gets shot with the opposite cannon. These are closest baited. And it's very, 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 very finicky and tight. I have a diagram up on screen of exactly what you should be doing. And please keep in mind how tight the spacing is. So make sure to recap long tethers, grab towers first, check where the clones are facing, and then grab them. And then dodge the Wicked Special. Once again, check where the clones are, because the clones could respawn. And this time, they happen to be facing east-west again. But I don't care about that. I'm a long tether, so I am going to go look for the clone that is opposite of me. We do Heaven's Fall priority, or Snake priority, whatever you want to call it, supports counterclockwise, DPS clockwise. So since I have yellow, I'm looking for a blue, and I know that this is the first counterclockwise blue, so I'm going to go stand right here and ignore everyone else. It's very, very tight. I am right up on this edge. Not going to fall off and get hit by the death wall, but I am very, very close. I want to shoot this out of the arena, just like I saw in the diagram. Once again, I'm shooting it out of the arena, and it's very finicky. Big thing to note is these little lines on the floor, as long as you are within this tiny little line, there's like 2 lines that go up on these tiles. And you can see on the other side as well. As long as you're inside of this, right there, and right there, and you're on the edge, you should not shoot the other person. As evidenced by me dying here. That is a very big laser. I am not underestimating their size. I am not exaggerating it. It's a huge laser. Immediately afterwards, it's going to do a tail thrust. So, you have to remember all this time what it does. In this case, it was left hot tail first. And then right. Sword quiver is the very last mechanic, and it does it twice. We're just gonna look at the slashes really quickly. Alright. So, there are 3 different variations of these slashes. And they are all partner mechanics. So I'm gonna do with the middle slash, since this is the one that we see right here. In the middle slash, we have tanks and melees go up front so they can get uptime. Healers ranged go in the back. You always pair up no matter what. For the backslash variation, we have tanks and melees go off to the side, and healers and ranged go up front. The reason we do this is because there is also a front slash variation. And in doing with a front slash variation, as seen on screen, tanks and melees don't have to move at all. They are in the same spot every time, except on the mid slash. And this also ensures that they get uptime. So it does this twice in a row, and then it does the 10-second long to 20-second long enrage cast. Or if you have good DPS, you can skip it, as you see that we did, even though it's week 1. Yeah. And that's my guide, I guess, if you can call it a guide. But good luck on getting your own clear. I hope this helps someone out there. I certainly hope it was worth the time and effort of watching it, and I'm sorry for not being a professional guide maker, but yeah, day 1 guides. Woo! Bye.